Welcome to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Lorraine Michaels, former EMT and nursing assistant, now business owner and wild entrepreneur. I walked away from over 15 years in medicine to pursue my passion and my God-given talents. Now, I get the honor of helping other women discover their passions and purpose. If you're feeling stuck in life, unsure where to go or what to do, welcome. If you're exactly where you want to be, great, you're welcome here too. If you have faced any kind of hardship or setback, you have found a safe place here. In other words, no matter who you are or what you've been through or what you're going through, this is the space for you. On the Bite Size Podcast, we'll discuss life, business, and faith. There's something for everyone. So grab a cup of coffee and something to take notes with, because there will definitely be things you won't want to forget. Welcome back to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Lorraine Michaels, and today we have Miss Brenda. She specializes in all things that I love, which is emotional healing, breath work, natural practices. I think we can all benefit from that, and I love that the world, society is becoming more and more popular, if you will. But there's an awareness that is all around these natural practices, right? So we have this ability to heal within. And I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we learn about it, and the more people that are comfortable teaching and talking about it, the more we can all live in a harmonious place, right?
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Brenda, welcome. I cannot wait to dive into all of this with you. How are you?
Yes, I am doing fabulous. And I'm so glad to have this conversation with you because, yes, we align on many things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I would love to hear your take on breath work. How did you find it? How did you hear about it? And how did you start implementing breath work into your everyday life?
For me, for breath work, I listened to a lot of podcasts, more inspirational, motivational, personal development type podcasts. And I had heard people talking about it and, how beneficial it was. I mean, this was like a long time ago. And I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. Never took the time to dabble into it at all. And in September of 21, I unexpectedly lost my husband. And so I've been on a healing journey. That was like the second modality, the second tool in my toolbox that I came across to try. I'm like, okay. So it kind of came across my feed, once in a while. You know how technology is, like when you feel like you're thinking about it or something, like, wow, this just happened to show up in my feed. It's like, okay, that's kind of scary. But so it came across as who is now my mentor, Brian Kelly, who is one of the founders of Breath Masters Academy. And so I'm like, okay, so we had this a free 5-day challenge. So I did the 5-day challenge. I'm like, which was just kind of going through different breathing techniques. And so I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. And so that I bought he had a 30-day program. So I bought the 30-day program, went through that, and which went a little bit deeper into it. But part of that 30-day program, he had one, what we refer to as a transformational breathwork journey, which is like an hour and a half long. And so when I finally got the courage up to do that, because I had seen online, what some of the people that were doing this and their reaction and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, I was like scared. I'm like,
Yeah.
they look like they're possessed,
Yeah.
And so I had finally decided, I'm like, okay, girl, you just need to set a date to do this and commit to it and just be done with it and get through that first one, And so when I did it, I have a group chat with my sisters. And so I texted them, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this breathwork thing tomorrow morning. And I'm like, if you don't hear from me by noon, I'm like, can you maybe check on me?
Yeah.
Needless to say, I was absolutely fine. But when I did that first transformational breathwork journey, oh my God, I had so many emotions that came pouring out of me, just, from a lot of it all surrounded, the loss of my husband. And,
Yeah.
but when I got done, when I got off, because I just laid on my bed, kind of went through all the emotions that breathwork does, all the cramping, the tetany, the wanting to clench up, the spasms, the numbness, and everything. Lots of crying, lots of crying.
Yeah.
And the breathwork journeys that I do, a lot of them have screams built into them.
Mhm.
And oh man, was that felt good to just kind of unload that and just scream it like no tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then when I got done, I laid there and I'm like, holy shit, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I'm like, that was absolutely incredible. And I'm like, everybody should be doing this because it
Yeah.
was just so therapeutic, so healing. And I felt so much at peace and so much lighter. And normally I normally it's like I have my, my Sunday routine where I kind of get ready for the week, yada yada yada. I'm like, it was a holiday weekend. I'm like, no, I'm like, I don't have to do any of that right now. And for me, it's like I want to be out in nature by water. Like water's my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got myself situated and I jumped in the car and I drove down to like a nature's preserve where they have a
Mhm.
walking trail and it takes you down to Lake Michigan here in Wisconsin. And it was just my whole morning. It felt so peaceful. It was like the best thing for my soul. And
Yeah.
I did that one breathwork journey. That was it. I was all in.
Yeah.
Like people need
So
to be doing this, and this is just
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. That's incredible. After that experience, I should say that session, because in that session you did something a little different, correct?
Yes, yeah, that was a really deep active breath work. Yes, that was much
Okay.
different than the daily practices that I was doing prior. Yeah.
So how often do you advise or suggest that people do those deep work sessions versus the everyday maintenance?
That's kind of what they're going through.
Mm.
So if they're going through a lot of stuff, I would definitely recommend it more often. So like when I was actually doing my training, they recommended us to do it every week, which
Oh,
was
wow.
intense.
Yeah.
But I did, and it was difficult. It was challenging and all that, but it was like so very worth it.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say more needed. Do it more often, like every week, every 10 days, or at least every 2 weeks, depending upon what you're going through. But like
Yeah.
once you kind of get to a point where you feel like I don't want to use the word balance. I'm just going to use the word balance. It's still not the
Okay.
right word to use, but
Yeah.
when you're not feeling as heavy, let's just put it that way. Then I would say
Okay.
definitely at least once a month do one
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean, your life is hard. Life throws us challenges all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, you recently were through your own challenge with being, where you're located, dealing with all the hurricanes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That would be yeah, that was traumatic, and going in and helping people, that I can't even imagine living in that and experiencing it. I've just been going up and helping, and even that, you have to decompress from that because you see some things that you definitely wouldn't expect to see. I mean, it looks like a third world country. So,
Mhm.
like, I'm not trying to make it about me, but I can only imagine the severity of the emotional weight of someone that is living in it and they lost everything, let alone myself, who gets to come home to my warm house with water and food, and I have all my belongings, right? So I can imagine the weightiness of actually losing everything. Are you supposed to move during it at all, or are you supposed to be still?
Be still. So when I guide people through the breathwork journeys, they're lying down. And
Okay.
they'll maybe like put something under their knees so they're more comfortable. We don't
Yeah.
want anything under the head too much because we don't want to block off their airway. So we want to make sure
Right.
that their airway is nice and open. Um, I've had some people will like maybe roll on their side. I've had people like maybe roll onto their belly because they feel they can breathe better that way because it's a very
Oh,
active, deep type of breathing. I did
yeah.
have one gal who actually uh, got up and went into like a higher child's pose type position
Oh, okay.
because that was easier for her to get those nice deep breaths. And
Yeah.
then when she actually did that, she actually had more of a breakthrough then because she was actually able to get more deep into her breath
Yeah.
to kind of really start moving some of those emotions. Yeah. But I mean, but people's bodies, I mean, you'll see them, you'll see their arms going or their hands, they'll be up in the air and they'll be wiggling their fingers because they're feeling that tingling and that numbness,
Yeah.
which I warn everybody about that that they possibly might feel,
Yeah.
or you can see them shifting their legs around and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
so you can, but yeah, they definitely, when they're going through the breathwork journey, the one, because I know there's different types of breath work. But like
Yeah.
transformational stuff that I guide people through, we definitely do not want them to get up and walk around
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're just not in that right mental state. They're
Right.
off like into like the subconscious land, and they're not just
Yeah.
like where they normally are sitting
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah.
So can anyone work with you from anywhere, or do they need to be local?
No, that's the one amazing thing about the type of work that I do is that it can be done uh, in person and online.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, which is
awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
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 I know emotional healing has been a big part of my journey and a big part of my healing itself, which I'm sure you can say the same thing having lost your husband. Um and a lot of times we don't realize that big T trauma, little T trauma, a lot of times we don't work through it. We suppress it
Hmm.
and we stuff it in our subconscious, and we don't realize that that is having such a heavy part of who we are, how we act, how we show up in the world. And
Yes.
so I know emotional healing is needed for everyone because everyone has experienced some level of trauma.
Yeah.
And so I just love that this is a natural thing. Anyone could do it. You don't need equipment. You just
Hmm.
need to be coached, take a course, learn how to do it. And it's like you said, one more tool in your tool belt in how to be a better human and how to live in harmony, right?
Yeah.
Because that is needed, especially in this day and age, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So when you were, so you didn't have to, with the hurricanes and all that, I mean, you weren't living in it directly, but you were around the people and helping those. So how did you navigate that and deal with your emotions and also to help others handle it emotionally as well?
Yeah. Um, I Oh, it was pretty difficult being there. I had no idea what to expect the first time I showed up. So I
Hmm.
went two 2 weeks, not consecutive, but 2 different weeks. And so when I first got there and first saw the destruction, it hit me. And when I was moving the stuff. So we had to like do different various things. It's called a mud out because this particular home that we went in to help, the water went all the way to the roof, like
Oh,
shingles roof.
oh,
So they lost absolutely everything in the house. Everything in the house was demolished. And so you have to remove the mud first. And then once you can see things, then you start removing items. And then once all the items are out of the house, then you start demoing the house, taking out drywall, everything down to the studs. And I mean, insulation, everything. And so as I'm moving out belongings and pictures that are framed that you can't see because they're covered in mud, and you're wiping the mud and muck off and you're showing the owner and you're asking them, do you want to try to salvage this, or do you want to
hmm,
put this in, the area outside? You have to be careful of what you say. You can't say trash. You have to treat everything as though it's your own, right? And so seeing the emotion of these people who have literally lost everything. At
hmm.
one point, I started to get teared up and I'm like, no, 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 no. You can't do
Imagine.
that right now. Like, this is not your mess. This is not your loss. You cannot do this right now. So I literally had to suppress my feelings while I was there because it's not about me, and help them and just whatever they need, if it's praying with them, if it's hugging them, if it's just
Hmm.
trying to salvage whatever it is that you have in your hand, or just taking a moment to honor them and grieve with them. as you put that item in the debris pile, right? So that was there trying to process it, but just driving home, honestly, praying, journaling,
Mm-hmm.
getting in a state of gratitude and being grateful for what I do have. Like I said, food, water, shelter, all my belongings. And it also puts into perspective how much junk we accumulate, right? You see people that literally have lost everything, and you're thinking to yourself, do I need all the things that I have?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't take it with you, because God forbid a flood or a fire or some other natural disaster comes and you lose everything in your house. You start to think what matters most.
Right.
And that helped me. It helped me process what I saw and also reframe it and remain in a state of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're not in that state, and this is all aspects, you start to lose focus of what's important and you start to become jaded, right? So remaining in that positive state, that state of gratitude, I think has helped a lot.
Yeah. So now when you have people that, I mean, including yourself, because you were in the thick of it and helping others. So I feel like when life really hits us, that people often have a tendency to let certain things fall at the wayside of
Mm,
taking care of themselves,
mm,
whether it be eating healthy, getting in some type of workout. Maybe nothing intense because you're doing all the cleanup and all that, but just something
mm,
maybe like a more Pilates or like a yoga type thing or just stretching.
mm,
So how did that play into, like, even yourself, because you were out there
mm.
helping others? But how
Yeah.
do you think that impacts like those that are like directly impacted?
I would say for the ones that are directly impacted, to honor yourself. So if you were previously into fitness and working out, obviously, like you said, you can't do it anymore because either you lost everything or there's nowhere to go. But really being in touch or in tune with what is bringing you joy. And
Mhm.
if that's connecting with someone, just honoring your body and honoring what your body is telling you that you need. Is it connection? Is it journaling? Is it taking a walk? Is it just being still? Or is it like doubling down and helping other people and, doing the hard work, heavy lifting, deconstructing of other houses, just being mindful of that. And I know it's so hard to do and slow down and ask yourself, like, what am I feeling right now? What is my body telling me right now? That honestly helps calm your nervous system. Because when you start to feel anxious, where do you feel it in your body? When you
Mhm.
start to feel uneasy, what is it that you are wanting at that time? And just honoring your body in a healthy way, right? Because a lot of times we don't realize that we have unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And when you hear like, oh, I just need a drink.
Yeah.
Okay, no, you don't. You don't need a drink, friend. So, like, healthy ways to cope and healthy ways, like what your body really truly needs. Is it the stillness? Is it connection? So, yeah, that would be my biggest advice is to be patient with yourself and to honor yourself and not to suppress the feelings, but to feel them.
Mhm.
Does that come
Mhm.
up a lot with the breath work? Like the letting, so whatever emotion is coming out, whether it's sadness, letting yourself cry, whether it's anger, letting yourself scream, does that come up? Like, do you coach people through that in your session or beforehand of allowing that emotion, whatever it is, to come out?
Yeah. So before I start guiding them through a breathwork journey, I there's like certain things that I go through, like the physical, the mental, and the emotional pieces that could potentially come up and more than likely will come up. And like on the emotions part of it, I let them know, it's like when I do the in-person ones or even online, and like, you're in a safe space. Like whatever
Yeah.
happens here stays here. If you choose to
Yeah.
share it, that's fine, but I'm not going to. But then I let them know, it's like, this is your space to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's okay to be vulnerable because you are here to help yourself and to heal.
Mm.
And I stress it, like, whatever emotions come up, let them come up. Just
Yeah.
don't stuff them down, because if you stuff them down, you're not helping yourself any.
Yeah.
So whatever your body wants to feel, let it feel it. If you're at any point in time you want to cry. It's okay.
Yeah.
So we build up in the journey where we lead into this scream. But I'm like, you know what? I'm like, if you need to scream before that, have at her. Scream.
Yeah.
Let it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
need to pound your fist into the floor, or if you're doing it online and you're laying in your bed, you need to pound your fist into the bed, by all means, definitely do that, because Lord knows I have.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet.
I stomped my feet into the bed to feel like I felt like I was a little kid having a temper tantrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I definitely stress with them, is just because it boils down to, it's like, we need to feel to heal.
Yes. Yes. That's huge.
Yeah.
I so agree. I tell people that all the time, because when you don't, you're just suppressing it, and it's going to show up in other ways. It's going to come out in other ways.
Yes.
And a lot of times it comes out in sickness.
Mm-hmm.
When you suppress all of that, it turns into anger, rage, bitterness, all of that yuck, like it, and then you internalize it, it will manifest in dis-ease, because
Mm-hmm.
you are out of whack.
Yeah. 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 I mean, just even some of not that all aches and pains are from that, but it's like some of the aches and pains, like when you have, when your neck starts bothering you or something, like, it's like, oh, my neck. It's like, well, how much tension have you been under? How much stress have you been dealing with, that you how much stress you have been going through, that you haven't been dealing with. And that's
Yeah.
where all this, all the crunchiness and everything comes into play. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm still guilty of it. It's kind of like, okay, you need to decompress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would
So,
just love to shout from the rooftops once in a while. I'm like, it's okay to cry. It really
yeah.
is. Male or female, child
Yes.
or adult, it's okay to cry.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that. Yeah, that is very healthy. So right now you're currently, how do people work with you?
A lot of people will uh, connect with me through either social. And then usually from there, it's on social, and then I lead them into my website, where I have all my programs that I offer and everything. And I'm just in November, I will be doing a beta launch of my 12-week program,
Awesome.
Radiant Living Roadmap, which is, each week we have a theme that builds one on top of the other. So there will be like a kind of like a teaching coaching component to it, and then they'll have like their homework or piece of it will be, which is more like prompts to help them do some journaling to kind of start
Yeah.
bringing some of that stuff to the surface.
Okay.
And then each week we do a breathwork journey that relates to the theme for the week. And so then they go through that. It's a 12 weeks of fairly intense emotions.
Yes.
But the goal at the end is for them to help, relieve some of the stress, pull up some of the trauma, the grief,
Yeah.
whatever they've been dealing with, and to help them start living a radiant life and move forward
Yeah.
from all the crap that they've been
Oh, that's
dealing with.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you suggest they could do to ease into that? Like if they're unsure, they're not ready to make that 12-week, what maybe can they do or try beforehand so that they feel comfortable and confident taking that step and making that investment with you?
That I would say, at least when I to try just a breathwork journey on its own.
Yeah.
Just to have that experience. Because a lot of times, I was actually talking to a small group last night, and it's hard to kind of describe breath work. I mean, what it
Mhm.
does and what you kind of go through and all that,
Mhm.
and how you feel about it. Because for one thing, what everybody experiences is different.
Right.
What I experience is completely different than what others experience that they share with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just really like people to be open enough to be able to try it, to experience it, to find out if it is something that is for them or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to start out slowly, I would say definitely, try a breathwork journey. I know I offer different themes where some are more calmer and some are a little more active and more deeper. And for somebody that's new to it, I definitely would introduce something more calming, and just kind of bring them into it gradually so they can kind of somewhat experience, but know that it gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's better, it gets deeper, it gets, there's more healing there. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. 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 So what are some of the offerings? Because you're all about the whole, I mean, everything, the mind, body, the soul, all of that, which I just love, 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 love. So what are some of the things that you offer? Because I know you hold workshops, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do either a keynote or workshops, or one-on-one coaching or group coaching. Those are all the options.
Mhm.
But so it's where would I start? So my methodology is mind, body, spirit, and
Mhm.
I incorporate all three of those when I'm working with someone because from my experience, you have to have a piece of each of these. And so briefly, like for the mind aspect, I help them break through mindset barriers, limiting beliefs. If they're dealing with, these subconscious blocks that they don't realize is a subconscious block.
Mhm.
Um, so breaking through like the confidence thing, if they're lacking confidence because something happened to them or they did something, right? And so they're holding on to that guilt and shame. And so we work through that, getting the mind right, working on your mindset, reframing negative thoughts. Body. I talk about how important your health is, your mental health, your physical health. And so we walk through what does your daily life look like? What are you consuming? What are you eating? Are you moving your body? I have a saying that, I say, move your body, move your mood. If you are struggling with your mood and you're feeling in a funk, go move your body, jump on a trampoline, walk outside, get in nature. Grounding, I absolutely love. I love, love, love grounding.
Yes.
I know
Yeah.
it sounds crunchy, but there's science behind it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, getting your bare feet on the earth is
Mm.
amazing.
Mhm.
So the body aspect of it, and I can help with exercises. I help with your diet. I also practice functional nutrition. So that's the body aspect of it. And then spirit, you have to be connected to spirit because everything came from that. I'm a Christian. I make sure that I spend my time in the Word, in the Bible, praying and meditating, staying connected to my Creator grounds me and gives me peace. And it helps me find my purpose because I'm not living for the world, I'm living for eternity. And
Mhm.
so, with those three, mind, body, spirit, and as you are working on all three pillars, you will start to find healing. You will start to find your purpose. You will start to find your passion and your joy again. And so, that's what I really walk women through, focusing on uh, their mess, right? The mess that they have been through is a message that their
Mhm.
story matters, and that your past doesn't define you, and that you
Oh,
were
yes.
created for more. You were created for greatness. There's a reason why you exist.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like so many people don't think about that or believe that. Because I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me, so many people that I'm around and that I know, it's just like they're just living, and
Right.
they're just here. Like, well, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
And and I had gotten a short conversation with somebody that I work with, and he was kind of coming across all doom and gloom and all that. I'm like, you have choices. Well, no, I don't. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, no, I'm like, you really do have choices. Like,
Yeah.
what is something that brings you joy?
Yeah.
And it was just a hard. He was just like on his break at work and all that. He's like, this could be a really long conversation. I'm like, yeah, it could be. But it's just
Yeah.
it saddens me when I talk to people that have that kind of thought process or in that
Mhm.
place
Mhm.
where it's just like, no, this is just the way it is, and I guess this is just the
Yeah.
way life is going to be until the good Lord decides to take me.
Yeah.
But no.
Right. Yeah, that is literally like what propelled me so much into doing this work is because that's what I kept seeing is, these women that are like, I have to do this. I don't have a choice. These are the cards that I've been dealt. And I'm like, no, like you 100% have a choice. You get to choose what that's called free will. You get to choose what you do. So you get to choose whether you're going to play a victim and think that you have no choice and that this is what you have to deal with, or you get to choose to empower yourself and heal through it, feel it so you can heal it and make a better life for yourself because you don't have to live this way. Like you have the power to change it. So it was so discouraging. Well, it kind of like lit a fire under me, but just to empower these people, that, hey, you don't have to live this way. Like it sucks to just get up, go to work, hate your job, be miserable, go home, eat, sleep, do it all over again. Like, ew, no.
Yeah. Yeah. You're put on this earth to more than just exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has a gift. It's a matter of pulling that out and finding that. And unfortunately, some people just haven't had anyone in their life to pull it out or to encourage them, to tell them, hey, like you're gifted in this. This is something that you're really good at and you should do it more,
Yeah.
And I love pulling that out of people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. We're just so in alignment with what we with what we do.
Right?
I have a question for you. So you're John Maxwell certified?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I've heard of John Maxwell, don't know a whole lot about him. So can you elaborate on that or explain it a little bit more?
Yeah. So he's amazing. Used to be a pastor years and years and years ago and got out of that and started writing books. And so he's like a leadership expert. And I started following him and listening to him years ago. I mean, we're talking like 10, 20 years ago. And I had always implemented like his thoughts and his ways and teaching. And I was reading leadership books. And that's how I started progressing when I was in my 9 to 5, just with leadership stuff. And then I learned, it was when I moved from California to South Carolina. I learned that there was a growth day in Florida. And so I signed up for that. I went to that and it was amazing. It was a bunch of coaches, speakers, and that's how I learned about getting certified through the John Maxwell program. And so the certification is after you complete it, you're a certified speaker, coach, or trainer. And I did all three paths. And they provide you with a plethora of resources, higher level coaching. You can do other speaking. You can get certified to speak at your organization. So if you are with a company, you can become a speaker or a trainer within your company using some of his teachings and methodology with some of his books that he teaches. It's just been amazing. He's just a huge thought leader and a profound human. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah. So you said Growth Day in Florida. Now is that like Brenda Bouchard's Growth Day or something else?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, not really.
Okay.
It was, I mean, like same thing because it's personal development, but it's like a 2-day. Well, if you're not certified, it's a 1-day event. But if you are certified, it is like a 2 or 3-day event.
Okay.
And it's the International IMC. International, I don't remember. It's IMC. But anyways, it happens twice a year in Florida. Is it International Maxwell Conference? I don't know. So, but they have phenomenal speakers come out and talk, and it's just a powerful, powerful event, equipping leaders and equipping speakers and coaches. And you get to meet a lot of amazing people doing amazing things. And it's not just for coaches or speakers. I mean, there's business people there, CEOs, people that want to be better leaders within their organization. I mean, teachers, everything you can imagine, everybody, it's for everybody. And it's incredible.
Oh, awesome. How did you get started in doing everything that you're doing?
So I have
What a
20 years
question.
medicine, and I was leading people, and I was seeing that common thread of people being miserable in their job
Mm-hmm.
and not doing what they love to do, and either had lost the passion and had no idea what they love to do anymore. And I was helping them figure that out while I was working.
Okay.
Or people would come to me for fitness related things, and I was helping them with that. So when I was working my 9-to-5 job, I was realizing that I was coaching people, whether it be through work or outside, and people would reach out to me via social media. And I was like, maybe I should lean into this, this like coaching, speaking thing. And I had no qualms about being on camera or talking to people or being up on stage. Like, none of that bothered me. That's actually one of like the top 3 fears that people have is
Me.
public speaking. And I was like, nope, I don't care. Put me up in front of anyone. I don't care. So anyways, yeah, that's what led me to it, because I was doing it unintentionally on the side. And I was like, this is kind of fun. And then so when I heard about the IMC conference, I was like, I'm going to that for sure.
So
Yeah.
I was this morning I shared with you that I had a podcast interview with somebody else, and we were talking. So like last night I had a meeting with a small group of funeral directors to share what I do between the grief recovery method program and breathwork. And and even just I'm talking like 8 people, lousy 8 people. And I felt so uncomfortable and so nervous inside. And I tried to do the best that I could after I got done talking, and I felt like I totally sucked. And I think I felt that way just because there were some questions that they asked, and they caught me off guard, and I wasn't prepared, and I, stumbling on my words and everything. And I'm like, okay, well, if nothing comes of it, anything, I got to practice. And so that was definitely worth it alone. And then also to be prepared for next time, make note of the questions that they did ask, and in the event that maybe next time I speak that I get asked some of the same questions. But right before I left, I was saying my goodbyes and thanking them for having me and their time and whatnot. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, hey, do you have some more information? Some of your flyers and your business card, all that, because I would like to pass this along to so-and-so, because I really think they'd be interested in the breath work. I'm like, yeah, I got a bunch of extra stuff. Here you go. And then one of the other guys had asked me if I would be, as far as like how far I would travel. So like I'm in West Bend, Wisconsin, and this guy that I was speaking to is up in Fond du Lac, which is about 45 minutes away, maybe something like that. If I would be willing to drive that distance to speak to another group. And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, I've driven up to that area before to, guide some ladies through a breathwork journey, not a problem. And so he came up and he's like, okay, I'll be in touch. I'm like,
cool.
Okay. And I got out to the car and I'm like, well, okay, maybe I didn't suck as bad as what I thought I did.
See, we're our own worst critic for sure. I mean, after every time I speak, I'm like, ooh, why did I say that? But that's good, because obviously we're wanting to learn and grow and be better, right? I don't want to ever not be nervous speaking beforehand. And I don't want to ever get off and be like, killed it. Like I should always want to be like, how can I be better? What can I do? Say different? How can I connect more? Like that's just the growth. That's the mindset, that you have to have of I'm evolving, I'm growing. I always want to be better, do better, not in a critical, self-condemning kind of way, but just a way of evolving, making sure that you're doing better. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I hope something comes of that and there's more referrals and more connections. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, if it doesn't, then so be it. But it was definitely a good experience.
Yeah.
And hopefully down the road, I'll have another opportunity. And what's funny is because it's like, so Monday nights, I teach a kickboxing class. And when I first started it, however like over 10 years ago. And I was nervous at first. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I do this all the time, but I mean, I hadn't taught in a while. I taught a class in a while. But then once I got in there and got started on all that, I was fine. So it's like, you put me in that arena,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm teaching and going through a class and all that, I'm very comfortable, and
Yeah.
but then it's kind of changing gears and kind of going into this other world where it's different. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, then I kind of get all caught up in myself and in my head and all that silly stuff.
Yeah. You got to suck at things before you're an expert at things, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
It's all learning. I love it. What was I going to ask? Oh, when you're working with people, do you recommend afterwards any type of movement to help release? So like you had said, you instruct kickboxing. I know also that a lot of emotion is stored in your hips. So doing, certain exercises or stretches that are hip openers can help with emotional healing. So do you recommend any of that to any of your clients?
When I'm doing like the emotional healing side of things, I have not. Um, but I had been, even like with my 12-week program, I thought about that, adding that component in there.
Mhm.
And kind of like, but then I thought it was going to be like too overwhelming,
I see. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's definitely, so I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because it's definitely something that I've been pondering. And,
Yeah.
but when it comes to my kickboxing class and all that, I let them know, like if you're sore, go sit in the Epsom bath, stretch, move, continue moving. Like if you're sore, don't just not move. You need to get up and
Yeah.
move, get that lactic acid moving, get those muscles warmed up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do that type of thing when it comes to my class that I teach. But like on the
Yeah.
emotional healing side of things, um, I just ask them to kind of give themselves the space to process everything that they've gone through, and
Yeah.
not to rush into anything really mentally stimulating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I I think that would be a good idea to offer maybe as a free resource, or find articles that you obviously are in alignment with and agree with. So that if in the event that they're like, this was really great, what more can I do to help this? Then they have that resource of the movement aspect of it, and not just, and couple that with the breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So I actually have a question for you, if,
yeah, yeah.
if you're willing to go there.
Oh, for
So
sure.
you had went through some stuff in September of 2020
Hmm.
that your life kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable elaborating on that and how you got yourself out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of my story. So in 2020, that was the year that, not just COVID, but my second marriage ended. And that marriage, I that taught me a lot about myself. It taught me
Mm-hmm.
how important it is to make sure that you are emotionally healed before you enter into another relationship. And um, looking back and reflecting, I definitely was not only attracted, but because of where I was at mentally and emotionally in my healing, what I thought was safe was not safe and what I needed, but it was for my unhealed self, if that makes sense. So where
Mm-hmm.
I was mentally and emotionally, I was attracted to, and I connected with what I was basically reflecting, and it was unhealthy and unhealed. Now, that's not to say that if you go through a healing journey with your partner, it can't be something beautiful. That was not my case.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a very unhealthy, abusive marriage, and it ended. It ended because he cheated on me with his ex-wife, and which was the mother of his kids. So it wasn't something that we could just, eliminate from our lives. She was going to be in our lives forever, and it was a traumatic ending to a relationship that I held onto very tightly for unhealthy reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up moving across the country. I and I ended up doing like a rapid healing, but also like meeting another human. And it was kind of crazy. I mean, in hindsight, I did jump into this relationship way too fast. I would have loved to have spent some more time healing. But this is a perfect example though of how like you can still heal with a partner, doing your healing, their healing, and it can be a beautiful relationship. Like the relationship I'm in now is a beautiful example of that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like huge changes, an ending of a marriage, moving across the country, another marriage, all while healing and business.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, I had to go through a lot of healing. I had to go through a lot of deep work, and it took a lot of deep work and realization and self-reflection and doing all the things that I coach about. I have been through. So it's not just I read a book and I'm like, hey, I'm an expert on it. I read a book. I did the work. I got certified and I've walked through it. So I definitely can teach you how to do it.
Yeah. I think it means a lot when, I think anyway, when you're working with somebody that that they're walking the talk,
Yeah.
and that they've kind of been through and they can somewhat relate to what you're going through. And like you said,
Yeah.
not to shortchange people that haven't, not by any means of shortchanging them, but I think it just takes on a different meaning, and you can connect better with the person that has gone through something similar that can relate better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's a level of vulnerability and connectedness that people appreciate and they see, they
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
they're attracted to.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're in a relationship now that's beautiful and is working through, that you guys worked together through your healing
Yeah.
process. So that's
Yeah,
amazing. That's awesome.
absolutely. It takes work. That's for damn sure. It's not
Well,
a walk in the park.
yeah, all relationships take work, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some might be more than others, depending upon what everybody's going through.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Brenda, thank you so much for this time, for
Yes, this has been
talking
awesome going
to,
back and forth.
yeah, and teaching about what it is that you do. I love hearing about that, and allowing me to share exactly what I do as well. This has
Yes,
been
yes,
so
and thank you for
fun.
that as well, sharing. Because, like I said, I
Yeah.
love that we're in alignment and that we share a lot of the same passions. So it's beautiful.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I can't wait for everybody, your audience, my audience, to hear this. And hopefully, if this resonated with anyone, please tag us and share it. Let
Absolutely.
us know. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Have a great day.